A crow with glowing red eyes watches the chaos from above. In the ruins of a city, soldiers tower over a man weeping on the ground. Armed troops move through the smoke of the battlefield. Pluto grips his pistol, his face smeared with blood and grime. The gun clicks empty. They were just too weak to stand their ground. Muzzles flash as the enemy opens fire. Bullets tear through the air, finding their marks. Pluto collapses, his blood painting the pavement as his country falls. The world fades, leaving him in total darkness. Suddenly, a blinding light pierces through the void. He reaches out his hand toward the warmth of the light. Another hand reaches back, locking with his in a firm grip. Pluto is pulled back from the brink, reborn into a new existence. When he opens his eyes, he's in a world far away from the war. He's been living in this new reality for 3 years now. Today is the day he gets a second shot at life. At Aurora Academy, the students prepare for the awakening ceremony. The instructor yells for everyone to gather on the sports field immediately. This world was changed forever when dungeons and monsters appeared. Hordes of demons flooded the streets, turning the world into a nightmare. To fight back, humanity awakened into ranked classes. In this era, your rank is the only thing that determines your worth. Luna Viremont just awakened to S rank, manifesting incredible ice powers. The crowd is stunned. A 95 talent score is almost unheard of. But they're all really waiting for the Academy's top student to step up. Pluto's name is finally called, and he walks toward the stage. He holds the record with 200 talent points, making him a living legend. Even Luna can't look away as he approaches. She tells him not to let her down. He doesn't say a word, keeping his focus on what's ahead. Pluto walks up to the glowing awakening orb. He places his hand over it, and his eyes begin to glow with energy. The instructor watches closely, knowing Pluto is a once-in-a-lifetime talent. To the Academy, having a student like him is a massive blessing. An S-rank awakening would guarantee him a spot in the top guild. The Azure Dragon Guild is the most powerful organization in the nation. A spot there means fame, money, and absolute status. But for Pluto, it means being part of the nation's military power. He remembers his past life, dying like trash because his nation was weak. This time, he's going to be the strongest person in the world. The orb erupts in a massive, blinding pillar of blue light. The intensity is so high that everyone assumes he's hit S-rank. The instructor and Luna stare in disbelief, their faces pale with shock. Floating above the orb, a single word changes everything: Necromancer. Massive purple energy surges out as shadows of skeletons loom behind Pluto. The entire field goes dead silent as the flare of power dies down. Some students think it's an S-rank, but the reality is much worse. Pluto looks at his hands, wondering how a genius score resulted in a lowly C-rank class. His status window confirms the truth. He's just a level 0 necromancer with basic stats. Instructor Julian Kingsley crosses his arms, his face twisting with disappointment. Pluto swipes the screen away, unimpressed by the mediocre skills he's been given. A single summon every 30 minutes is barely enough to survive, let alone lead. Suddenly, a hidden system notification flashes. All summoning limits have been removed. Pluto's frustration vanishes instantly as he realizes the potential of this glitch. With no cooldown and no cap, his mana is the only thing holding him back. He envisions himself standing atop a colossal skeletal dragon. In his mind, he sees an unstoppable tide of undead soldiers marching for him. He clenches his head, his eyes burning with the realization that he is now a one-man army. No matter what the world thinks, he knows he can crush any S-rank. Kingsley's voice cuts through his thoughts, barking at him to stop spacing out and clear the stage. Pluto glances back, noting how quickly the faculty's respect has turned to contempt. He walks away with a smirk, already planning his path through the dungeons. The other students whisper behind his back, confused by his sudden change in mood. Adrian Blackwood, a student with a sneering expression and greenish-gray hair, steps into his path. He mocks the former golden boy for falling so far from grace. Boasting about his own A rank, Adrian offers to let Pluto be his pet in exchange for a carry. Pluto ignores the taunt, remembering that Adrian has always been desperate for his attention. The bully and his friend laugh, already imagining Pluto crawling behind them like a dog. Adrian calls him a hotshot and tells him to take the generous offer. Pluto doesn't even waste his breath, walking right past the trash. He's surprised to find Luna Veryone waiting for him near the courtyard. He tells her he's really not in the mood for any more jokes today. Instead of mocking him, she offers to take him out for a power-leveling session. Pluto is skeptical, wondering why an S rank would bother carrying a lowly C rank. Luna insists that with his talent score, there's no way he's just a regular necromancer. She grabs his arm, her eyes full of genuine belief in his hidden potential. She's sharp enough to know that 200 points doesn't just result in a weak class. Pluto thanks her for the offer to stoop down to his level. But then he pulls away, politely declining the help. He adjusts his tie, determined to reach the top on his own terms. His eyes glow with a cold purple light as he thinks about the levels he's about to gain. He looks back at the people who underestimated him, ready to surpass them all. Pluto arrives at the Aurora Academy dungeon hall, where a massive blue portal towers over the room. He ignores the stares of the other students and heads straight for the trials. Pluto enters the sequence trials, a solo dungeon where monsters scale from level 1 to 5. The risk is high, as challengers can't leave until they clear the wave or die trying, but the experience rewards are unmatched. Luna Veryone and the elite class homeroom teacher watch the portal in shock, realizing Pluto has actually entered. The teacher covers her mouth, horrified that a mere C rank would attempt something so dangerous. She assumes Pluto has lost his mind, driven to a death wish after his disappointing awakening. Despite her fear, she knows Pluto isn't the type to simply give up. She decides to stay at the portal to watch for trouble and call for backup if things go south. Deep within the trial's domain, a massive floating island serves as the battlefield for the first wave. Pluto stands in the safe zone, preparing himself for the fight ahead. He knows there is no retreat once he steps into combat mode, and the trial begins. 10 level 1 void hounds emerge from the shadows, their eyes glowing with a malicious purple light. Pluto prepares his magic, noting that most rookies wouldn't dream of facing 10 monsters at once on the first floor. He summons his first 2 necromantic soldiers, watching as the skeletal warriors materialize in a burst of purple flames. With a command, he orders his soldiers to focus their fire on the lead hounds. One of his soldiers strikes a hound down with a powerful blow, disintegrating the beast. Seeing the success, Pluto realizes that as long as he can keep summoning soldiers, the mobs are manageable. He reflects on how quickly he went from being the center of attention to the butt of every joke. His hand glows with dark energy as he recalls the shift in everyone's attitude. He remembers Julian Kingsley barking at him to move on after the ceremony was over. He recalls the sight of the void hounds, equating his struggle now to the obstacles he faced before. He remembers Adrian Blackwood's mockery, offering to make him a pet because of his A-rank status. The memories of being called part of an inferior race in his past life fuel his desire to prove them all wrong. He remembers his past self, beaten and bruised, and the look of pity or contempt from others. With a look of pure determination, he vows that he will become the strongest, no matter his rank. Casting aside his mana limits, he summons an entire squad of skeletal soldiers to surround him. With 10 necromantic soldiers now at his side, he is ready to dominate the first floor. He strategizes, assigning 2 soldiers per hound to ensure maximum efficiency in the slaughter. The soldiers make quick work of another void hound, earning Pluto even more experience points. Experience notifications flood his vision as the hounds fall one by one to his undead army. He calculates his mana regeneration, knowing he can have a full pool ready in just 10 minutes. He looks toward the horizon, envisioning the day he leads an entire legion of skeletons. He orders his soldiers forward, pushing deeper into the trial with unrelenting momentum. The final hounds of the wave are cut down, their bodies dissolving into the ether. A massive pillar of light erupts as Pluto reaches level 1, far faster than he ever expected. He realizes that each level up offers free stat points and a 30% mana recovery. His status window updates, showing his new level and 5 unallocated stat points. Without hesitation, he dumps all his points into his mana pool, his most vital resource. With his increased mana capacity, he can now sustain an even larger army of 15 summons. He looks up, his eyes sharp and ready to take on the challenge of the next floor. Stepping onto floor 2, his soldiers immediately clash with a gray wolf, which yields even more experience. He remains cautious, keeping soldiers on guard to protect his fragile frame from any surprises. Another surge of power washes over him as he levels up again, finding the solo grinding to be incredibly effective. Pluto watches his status window update as he hits level 2, with his mana capacity increasing to fuel his growing army. He realizes he's entered a perfect leveling loop. More soldiers lead to faster kills, which grant more levels and even more soldiers. Deep in the trial, he encounters level 4 mud horses and notes that the difficulty is steadily ramping up. A massive mud horse snorts aggressively, its eyes glowing red as it prepares to defend its territory. With a confident smirk, Pluto points his finger and orders his skeletal vanguard to take the beasts down. A necromantic soldier delivers a devastating overhead strike, smashing into a mud horse with bone-crushing force. The beast is slain instantly, granting Pluto another 40 experience points toward his next level. However, one of his summons is destroyed in the fray, making him realize that the enemies are now strong enough to fight back. Unfazed, Pluto channels more mana and swells his ranks, commanding a total of 30 soldiers at once. The sheer number of skeletons overwhelms the remaining mud horses, resulting in a flurry of experience notifications. A burst of light surrounds Pluto as he reaches level 5, a major milestone in his rapid progression. A new notification appears. He has qualified for a restriction removal, unlocking even more of his class's hidden potential. The evolution lock is removed, allowing him to command his soldiers to absorb defeated targets and evolve into stronger forms. He envisions the possibilities, realizing he can now transform his generic skeletons into undead versions of any powerful foe he slays. Pluto grins at the prospect of his army gaining variety and specialized units as his kill count continues to rise. He stands tall like a true king of the underworld, silhouetted against a mountain of bones as his power grows. He recalls that necromancers receive a new skill every 5 levels and checks his interface for his latest ability. He unlocks the gunpowder skeleton skill, which allows him to convert summons into explosive units that detonate on impact. The idea of having area of effect damage excites him, and he can't wait to test these new suicide bombers on the level 5 monsters. He comes across a pack of level 5 blackback beasts, heavily armored creatures with thick, durable hides. He decides they are the perfect test subjects for his new explosive units, as his regular soldiers would struggle to chip through their armor. With a snap of his fingers, he activates the skill, and the heads of several skeletons ignite with a volatile purple flame. 3 skeletons carrying massive barrels of explosives charge toward the beasts with thunderous footsteps. Pluto watches with intense focus, ready to see the destructive power of his newly evolved tactics. Pluto looks a bit skeptical about his new minions. They're janky, but as long as they blow things up, he's happy. A skeleton with a flaming head sprints forward, lugging a massive barrel of gunpowder. The little guy drops the payload right under a blackback beast's nose. A massive explosion ripples through the field. Pluto watches as his target gets vaporized. The damage is even better than he expected. 100 EXP rolls in for every kill. If he wants to keep spamming these walking bombs, he's going to need a lot more mana. Pluto finishes the run and heads back. He got plenty of experience but 0 loot. He needs actual gear. As he steps out of the trial area, one of the instructors spots him and freezes in place. She can't believe her eyes. Pluto just hit level 5 in a single hour without a scratch on him. She realizes this C rank might be way more dangerous than his talent score let on. She needs to talk to the principal. Julian Kingsley, the Aurora Academy principal, is already buried in paperwork and doesn't want to be disturbed. He's annoyed that she's bothering him about a lowly C rank when they have actual S ranks to manage. The instructor explains the situation. A level 0 hitting level 5 that fast is physically impossible for a normal necromancer. Julian knows the math doesn't add up. One skeleton versus a pack of hounds should have been a slaughter, but not for the hounds. The question remains, how did a weak class pull off a world record clear? Meanwhile, Pluto is browsing the pro shop. Even the basic gear costs 10 gold, which he definitely doesn't have. Time to go hunting. He watches a group of high-level hunters limp out of a portal. They just got wrecked by the giant rhino mountain. Naturally, Pluto decides that's exactly where he's going. He sets the difficulty straight to gold. He enters the dungeon and summons a few skeleton soldiers to lead the way. He checks his stats, level 5 with enough mana to get the job done. Goal, kill the boss and get rich. Pluto commands his army forward. With his mana regeneration, his skeleton count can grow indefinitely. The level 5 rock rhinos appear. Pluto doesn't think he'll lose a single soldier against these guys. A spear pierces through a rhino's head. The first 50 EXP is in the bag. The rhino roars as it's swarmed by undead soldiers. Another giant rhino charges at the front line. Pluto realizes physical attacks are bouncing off their thick hides. Time for a tactical shift. He snaps his fingers, ready to show off his second trick. He converts one of his summons into a gunpowder skeleton on the fly. The explosion shatters the rhino's armor. 100 EXP rolls in. If high defense is the problem, he'll just turn his entire army into walking suicide bombs. A chain of explosions clears the field in seconds. Rhinos are getting vaporized left and right. A blue light surrounds Pluto. He just hit level 6. One more boss clear should get him to 7. He looks at his status screen. 5 stat points are waiting to be spent. The giant rock rhino king emerges from the shadows. It's absolutely massive. The beast lets out a deafening roar that shakes the cave. Pluto dodges a tremor. He wasn't expecting a level 5 boss to be this huge. He looks the king in the eye. It's already stepped into his trap. Pluto has nearly 100 explosive skeletons surrounding the boss. It has nowhere to run. A massive blast engulfs the boss. The cave lighting turns bright orange. The king is vaporized before it can even move. Pluto reaches level 7 instantly. 5,000 EXP in one go. Impressive. A purple light catches his eye in the wreckage. He got a rare drop. It's the giant rock staff. Epic quality, giving him a massive boost to his defense and mana. Just what he needed. Pluto's eyes go wide. He just hit the jackpot. He recalls the system's tier list. White for common, and climbing up through rare and epic until you hit unique. Getting epic gear on his first run is insane luck, especially since it's exactly the caster gear he needs. The stats are huge. 10 defense to cover his squishiness, and more importantly, a 30-point boost to his mana. He stands tall, checking his updated power. Dumping all his points into MP was definitely the right call. His status window updates, level 7 with 75 mana. That mana pool means he can maintain an army of 75 soldiers at once. He walks through the academy hall, but his peace doesn't last long. Adrian Blackwood steps out with that typical villain sneer. Pluto barely even blinks as the trash talk starts. Adrian mocks him for camping outside the dungeon, assuming no one wants to carry a C-rank trash like him. He brandishes his own rare gear, telling Pluto to be his dog if he wants a handout. His lackeys join in, telling Pluto to take the deal or he'll die a loser. The whole group laughs, clearly enjoying the public humiliation. Pluto stays calm, but his expression shifts. He doesn't mince words, telling Adrian to straight up F***CK off. Adrian snaps and grabs Pluto by the collar. One of the girls pulls him back, reminding him that fighting in the dungeon hall is strictly prohibited. The crowd watches as a guard finally makes his way over. The officer demands to know what the hell is going on. Adrian hides his anger with a fake smile, pretending they're just old classmates playing around. The guard isn't buying it and tells them to either get in a dungeon or get out. Adrian leans in for one last threat, promising to finish Pluto the moment they're outside. He leads his crew away, bragging about hitting level 5 today. Pluto just watches them go, thinking he would have flattened the guy if they hadn't been stopped. The guard tells Pluto to find him if they bother him again. He warns Pluto that the dungeon he's aiming for is too high level for him to find a party. Then he sees the staff in Pluto's hand and nearly chokes. Pluto ignores the warning and starts setting up his daily runs to grind. The guard realizes only the Rhino King at Gold difficulty drops that staff, which means this kid is the real deal. Pluto vanishes back into the portal for his next 3 runs. He's back in the thick of it, picking up the pace with his skeleton squad. Outside, the guard is still processing the fact that a freshman just soloed a gold dungeon. Even the Academy's S-ranks couldn't pull that off at this level. Back in the dungeon, another Rock Rhino King roars, but it's just a target now. Pluto just smirks. These big guys never learn. Another 5,000 EXP rolls in as the boss gets vaporized. The king falls, its massive body shaking the ground. Pluto doesn't even break a sweat. Another run, another explosion. The grind never stops. He orders his skeletons to keep the barrels coming. Another rhino bites the dust. Only one more daily run to go. Pluto looks over his haul. He's got plenty of gear loot, but none of it fits his build. He'll just sell it all for a profit later. With his daily runs exhausted, he heads home. He's got the rookie professional test tomorrow morning, and he needs to be ready. He checks his stats one last time. At level 9, with his new epic staff boosting his mana to 85, he's feeling unstoppable. The next morning, Aurora Academy is buzzing with energy as students gather for the big day. The rumor mill is in full swing. Everyone's talking about the Azure Dragon Guild sending observers to scout for top prospects. Nearby, students are comparing their progress. One managed to hit level 4, while another is struggling at level 2. Pluto listens in, unimpressed. Their leveling speed seems incredibly slow compared to the pace he's been setting. "There you are, big shot," a familiar, sneering voice cuts through the air. Adrian Blackwood stands there, boasting about reaching level 5. He mocks Pluto, asking if he's found someone to carry his trash rank yet. On the balcony above, Julian Kingsley calls for silence. The rookie professional test is officially beginning. The instructor explains the stakes. Azure Dragon will pick the top 5 prospects, and the first-place winner gets a bonus piece of epic gear. The students erupt in whispers. Epic quality gear is a dream for rookies at their level. Kingsley introduces the guest of honor, Elder Aaron Crowley, a high-ranking professional known as the Inexhaustible Fountain. The rules are simple. Each student gets a private room where Crowley will spawn summons. 1 kill equals 1 point over 30 minutes. Elder Crowley steps forward, his presence commanding and his eyes glowing with an intense blue light. Fear ripples through the crowd. The gap between them and a level 70 professional is astronomical. They worry they won't stand a chance. Crowley raises a hand to calm them, promising to lock the summons at level 1 and stop the test if anyone gets overwhelmed. The tension breaks and the students' confidence returns. With the difficulty capped, they're ready to go all out. Adrian can't help but take one more jab at Pluto, predicting he'll struggle to get even a single kill. Pluto doesn't flinch. A faint purple light flickers in his eye as he tells Adrian he's ready to play right now. He proposes a wager, a bet on who can achieve the higher rank in the upcoming test. Adrian just scoffs, finding the idea of a C-rank competing with him ridiculous. He laughs in Pluto's face, wondering if the guy has finally lost his mind. Leaning in close, he demands to know if Pluto still genuinely believes he's some kind of talented genius. Adrian sets the penalty. The loser has to crawl and bark like a dog in front of the entire school. Pluto agrees without hesitation. The announcement blares across the grounds. Day 1 of the rookie professional test is officially kicking off. The massive doors slide open, and the students are ordered into their individual testing chambers. On the observation deck, an assistant confirms everyone is in position. Crowley gives a simple nod to begin. The Elder, a level 75 bronze shaper, activates his mana, and a massive teleportation array hums to life. In Pluto's room, a magic circle glows on the floor as the first wave of summons begins to materialize. Pluto watches the process with interest, waiting for his targets to appear. A group of level 1 bronze soldiers steps out of the light, weapons at the ready. Pluto doesn't wait. He summons his own skeletal warriors, eager to see how they'll handle the Elder's creations. A bronze soldier charges forward, thrusting its spear with mechanical precision. One of Pluto's skeletons meets the charge head-on, swinging its massive axe with bone-crushing force. With a loud clang, the skeleton's strike connects, shattering the bronze warrior into pieces. Pluto stands amidst the debris. He's surprised at how easily they crumble. They'd only be a challenge if his summon limit was still 1. Crowley notices the rapid clear on his monitors. Surprised that someone took down 5 soldiers already, he decides to increase the pressure. More circles appear on the floor. The Elder is ramping up the numbers to test the students' limits. Despite the increasing volume, Pluto's skeletons are more than enough to handle the bronze waves. He directs his summons efficiently, pairing 1 skeleton against 2 bronze soldiers to keep the clearing speed high. Outside, Crowley's eyes widen in disbelief. 10 bronze soldiers down in an instant. This isn't what he expected from a rookie. Elder Aaron Crowley, a high-ranking professional with a flowing white beard and a piercing blue aura, watches the test monitors with newfound interest. "Seems your academy has some talented students," he remarks, his voice filled with calm authority. Standing beside him, Julian Kingsley, the academy's authoritative principal in a sharp suit, reacts with frantic urgency. "Pull up the leaderboard, show me who's number 1, he barks at the assistants. As the names flash onto the screen, Kingsley's eyes nearly pop out of his head. "It's Pluto," he shouts, his voice cracking with utter disbelief. The holographic display confirms the impossible reality. Pluto is in first place with 15 points, triple the score of the runner-up. Even Adrian Blackwood, the local prodigy, is trailing far behind in 4th place with only 3 points. The elite class homeroom teacher gasped, leaning forward as she monitored the data. "And his score is still climbing every second," she exclaimed, unable to hide her growing astonishment at this student. The leaderboard updates in real time, showing Pluto's score surging to 23 points. The gap between him and the rest of the class is widening into a chasm. Kingsley is at a complete loss for words. How is this possible?" he stammers. Crowley looks back at him, a knowing glint in his blue eyes as he asks if the principal is finally willing to believe the evidence of his own eyes. The principal clutches his head, trying to process the data. Impossible! Was he able to break past his class limits because of his 200 talent points? He wonders aloud, grappling with the sheer scale of Pluto's hidden potential. Crowley's thoughts drift back to his own youth. Even when he was the city's top scorer, he only had 99 talent points. This kid, with double that amount, is a diamond in the rough that needs to be polished. A surge of magical power erupts from the Elder as he decides to take the test to the next level. "Then I might as well give you a push," he declares, his blue energy flaring brilliantly as he prepares a massive summon. Inside his private test chamber, Pluto remains perfectly calm. To him, the first wave of 10 bronze soldiers was zero threat, even easier than his solo grinds at Giant Rhino Mountain. Suddenly, a violent whoosh of air echoes through the room. Pluto senses a massive shift in the atmosphere and turns his head, sensing a far greater force materializing behind him. "What the?" Pluto's eyes widen as dozens of magic circles bloom on the floor simultaneously. The Elder is no longer holding back, flooding the room with a sea of bronze warriors. Pluto's expression hardens as he assesses the new threat. The sheer density of the magical energy in the room is unlike anything he's faced before. A massive phalanx of 30 bronze soldiers stands ready to crush him. The scale of the challenge is absolutely insane for a rookie test, more fitting for a veteran professional. A dark, confident smile spreads across Pluto's face as he grips his staff tightly. Purple necromantic energy begins to swirl around him. "But if it's a numbers game," he whispers. With a violent explosion of shadow and bone, Pluto unleashes his full power. A massive army of skeletons rises to meet the bronze horde head-on. "Then let's see whose army is stronger," he roars as 30 skeletal warriors manifest in the room. Inside Adrian's testing room, the second heir of the Blackwood family is busy hacking through waves of enemies. Adrian grits his teeth, determined to stay ahead. He's convinced Pluto has no chance of catching up. Looking back 2 years ago to the talent assessment, Adrian was the star of the show with a score of 77. He basked in the praise back then, with everyone assuming his high score guaranteed him an elite future. But then the news hit. Pluto had somehow pulled a massive 200 points. The announcement left Adrian and the other elites staring in total disbelief. The other students were practically worshipping Pluto's talent, calling it a nationwide top-tier score. Even the elite class homeroom teacher acknowledged him, telling the others that they would have to work twice as hard just to keep pace with him. That acknowledgement didn't sit well with Adrian at all. Sitting in his family's mansion, he couldn't stand the thought of being overshadowed by an orphan. He refused to accept that he was supposed to share the spotlight with someone he considered beneath him. Back in the present, he slams his sword down, venting all that old frustration. He's convinced his Berserker Knight class will eventually crush a pathetic necromancer. He laughs like a maniac, sitting at 15 points and feeling confident about their bet. Elsewhere, a blade connects with a heavy metallic clank. Pluto's skeletons are already deep in the fight, and his score is climbing past 79. His summons weave through the bronze soldiers, cutting them down with clinical precision. The enemies don't stand a chance, as a heavy axe comes swinging down on them. Pluto stands in the middle of the wreckage, his score hitting a clean 100. But he's not celebrating yet. He started with 30 soldiers and he's already down to 16. He knows the pressure is building, so he begins summoning more reinforcements to fill the gaps. His mana is draining fast, and he notices the enemy spawn rate just took a sudden, suspicious jump. In the observation deck, Julian Kingsley and the staff are losing their minds. Pluto just shattered the old record. Crowley watches closely, noting that Pluto just wiped out 100 high-level enemies at level 1. Crowley tightens his grip on his cane, deciding to see just how much this kid can actually handle. He releases a massive surge of blue energy, manually cranking up the test's difficulty. The old man's eyes glow with intensity as he watches the screen. Julian rushes over, worried that the elder is draining too much of his own mana for this little stunt. Crowley scoffs, saying he could summon 10,000 of those soldiers without breaking a sweat. But he realizes he might have gotten carried away. There are now way too many summons in Pluto's room. Inside the room, Pluto catches on to what's happening and lets out a cold smirk. He's facing down an absolute wall of bronze soldiers that shouldn't even be there yet. Since the game changed, he decides it's time to stop holding back and bring out the heavy hitters. He snaps his fingers, activating a specialized skill, Gunpowder Skeleton. The skeletons at his side begin to transform, their forms shifting as the skill takes hold. A new squad emerges, each one carrying a massive, flaming barrel of explosives on its head. Pluto looks on with a chilling expression, giving the order to turn the room into dust. The kamikaze skeletons charge, head first into the enemy ranks. Back in the booth, Julian screams for the test to be shut down before Pluto gets overwhelmed. He's panicking because no student should be taking on hundreds of silver-tier enemies at once. The elite class homeroom teacher observed the leaderboard from the sidelines, her usual calm replaced by genuine concern. She reaches out toward the screen, desperately wanting to stop what's about to happen. In the observation deck, Julian Kingsley is practically losing his mind as the situation in the arena spirals out of control. He's desperate to stop the test, terrified that the boy will be torn apart by the relentless wave of bronze soldiers. But Pluto's points are ticking up at an impossible speed, crossing 201. Before anyone can even blink, the display flashes 295. It keeps climbing, hitting 350 points without a single sign of slowing down. Julian can hardly believe the numbers he's seeing on the screen. Crowley realizes that if a rookie can show this much power, he might be the one to save the entire nation one day. The instructor begs the elder to call the summons back, but Crowley is determined to see exactly where this kid's limit is. Massive explosions rock the testing floor as the score shatters 800. Through the fire and smoke, The points blast past 900. A few bronze soldiers are still standing in the wreckage, struggling to stay in the fight. Pluto remains perfectly calm, standing firm as the dust finally starts to settle. One of his skeletons finishes off the last remaining enemies with a swift strike. Pluto stands alone in the middle of a literal war zone, his score hitting a staggering 1,000 points. Up in the booth, the instructors stare in silence as the simulation comes to an abrupt halt. Crowley is genuinely impressed. The boy managed to eliminate every single soldier he summoned. Julian is breathless, asking the elder for his opinion and wondering if he should bring the kid in right away. The rest of the staff can only watch in awe at the miracle they just witnessed. Crowley's eyes narrow. He's decided he needs to meet this boy personally. Julian tries to argue that the test isn't over for the other students, but Crowley is already stepping into a magic circle. He doesn't care about the protocol. His movements won't affect the other rooms anyway. The old man knows that if these results are legitimate, this boy's potential is beyond measure. With a sharp flash, he vanishes from the observation deck. Back in the testing chamber, Pluto lets out a long breath, relieved that it's finally over. He knows that without mass summoning those gunpowder skeletons, that fight would have been a disaster. Suddenly, he senses a massive presence appearing right behind him. He spins around, wondering if there are even more enemies on the way. Instinct kicks in, and he orders his skeletons to box the intruder in. His undead soldiers charge, but they're dealing with someone far beyond their level. Crowley lets out a powerful shout that stops the skeletons dead in their tracks. He just sits there calmly, his presence alone freezing the necromantic summons in place. Pluto is shocked to see Elder Crowley standing right in front of him. The old man points out that a normal C-rank class shouldn't be able to pull off a feat like this. He reminds Pluto that necromancers are supposed to have a strict one-summon limit every 30 minutes. Pluto starts sweating as the elder notes that 30 minutes haven't even passed since the test began. Crowley leans on his cane, demanding to know how exactly he managed to summon so many soldiers so fast. The boy's mind races, realizing he's been caught breaking the fundamental rules of the system. But Crowley tells him not to worry. He only cares if Pluto's power can be used to protect the nation. Pluto looks him in the eye, knowing he needs the approval of the vice-chairman of the Azure Dragon Guild to succeed. He decides to hide his full hand, showing just enough power to keep the old man interested. A dark aura erupts as he prepares to show off his summoning skill one more time. He summons his skeletons one at a time, playing along with the lie of a massive cooldown. Pluto realizes that his summons have a maximum duration of 1 hour, at least for now. He knows deep down that the traditional rules of his class simply do not apply to him anymore. With his army at his back, he understands that his power is truly unrestricted. Crowley's eyes widen as he finally puts a name to the anomaly: unrestricted necromancy. The old man remains silent for a moment, processing the sheer magnitude of what he's just discovered. He asks if Pluto can truly lead an entire tireless legion alone. The boy gives a simple, theoretical confirmation. The elder realizes that this isn't just a talented kid. Pluto is on a level that defies common sense. Crowley declares that Pluto's talent is a national priority, and he's going to ensure his future is secured with the guild. Before teleporting out, he promises to return tomorrow, leaving Pluto stunned by the mention of the Azure Dragon's chairman. Pluto watches as the magic circle begins to hum, still processing the gravity of the elder's words. As a parting gesture, Crowley holds out an ornate golden key, calling it a gift from his guild. The boy stares at the artifact, sensing the incredible power radiating from the small object. The elder identifies it as a blessing key, the only way to enter a legendary blessing rift. Pluto remembers reading about such rifts back in his academy lectures. He recalls that these rifts scale to the user's level and offer unmatched experience and loot drops. Most importantly, he knows these keys are nearly impossible to find, with a drop rate of almost 0. He can't believe that Crowley is just handing over something so incredibly valuable to a student. The old man's expression is stern, signaling that he expects great things in return for this investment. The golden key changes hands, a physical contract for Pluto's newfound path. With a sharp swoosh, Crowley vanishes into a pillar of blue light, leaving the room silent. Pluto clenches the key, already planning to head to the rift the moment the school day ends. Outside, an instructor announces that the 30-minute time limit for the rookie test has finally expired. In his own room, Adrian Blackwood collapses against his weapon, completely exhausted from the trial. He looks over the broken remains of his enemies, confident that his performance was unbeatable. He brags about taking down 40 soldiers, certain that he's secured the top spot in the entire academy. A loudspeaker summons all students to the playground for the immediate announcement of the results. The school grounds quickly fill with students, the air thick with nervous chatter and excitement. Everyone is talking about how brutal the bronze soldiers were, with even high scores barely reaching double digits. Adrian scans the crowd with a predatory grin, looking for his target to claim his victory. He spots Pluto standing quietly among the other students and sneers, ready to make good on their bet. He moves through the crowd with a sudden swish, closing the distance before Pluto can even react. Adrian grabs the boy by his tie, his face contorted in an arrogant, mocking sneer. Pluto remains calm, even as the rich kid tries to intimidate him in front of everyone. Adrian demands to know if he's ready to fulfill his end of the bargain and start barking like a dog. He's eager to humiliate the trash, necromancer who dared to stand up to the Blackwood name. High above on the balcony, an official calls for silence to begin the announcement of the Day 1 scores. Instructor Julian Kingsley steps forward with the official list, ready to reveal the top 5 achievers. He starts with rank 5, Tristan Ashcroft, who managed to score 39 points. Adrian whispers to Pluto that his own score is even higher, gloating about his guaranteed win. The announcer reveals rank 4 is Adrian Blackwood with 41 points, prompting him to tell Pluto to get on the floor. When Pluto doesn't budge, Adrian mocks the idea of a lowly necromancer ever reaching the top 3. But then Luna Viremont is announced as rank 3 with 77 points, sending a wave of cheers through the crowd. The crowd is stunned as the announcer continues, revealing Luna's incredible score even though her class is support-focused. Then comes rank 2, Colin Lancaster, a combat S rank who is visibly outraged to have only taken 2nd place. The instructor, Julian Kingsley, takes a deep, steadying breath as he looks down at the final name on his glowing list. With a shout that echoes across the grounds, he declares Pluto as the rank 1 winner with an impossible 1,000 points. A heavy, suffocating silence falls over the entire student body as the gravity of that number sinks in. Then the playground erupts into chaos, with students screaming in disbelief at a score that has shattered the Academy's all-time record. Everyone is questioning how a C rank could possibly outperform the elite S ranks in such a dramatic fashion. The 2nd place finisher, Colin, does the math and realizes that Pluto would have needed a killing speed that defies human limits. Adrian Blackwood is paralyzed, his face pale and slick with cold sweat as his reality crumbles around him. His eyes are wide and bloodshot, fixed on the boy he had just been mocking seconds before. He stammers in disbelief, unable to comprehend how he could have been so utterly defeated by someone he considered trash. Pluto stares back with a cold, unwavering gaze, simply stating the obvious: Adrian has lost the bet. Adrian recoils as if struck, screaming about cheating, because he refuses to accept a C rank could ever be superior to him. The surrounding students begin to whisper, recalling the terms of the bet and anticipating Adrian's public humiliation. Many of them are secretly delighted to see the arrogant heir of the Blackwood family finally knocked off his pedestal. Adrian stumbles backward, the weight of the crowd's judgment pressing down on him like a physical force. He falls to the ground, pointing a trembling finger at Pluto while still desperately shouting that something must be wrong. Other students start to jeer, telling Adrian not to be such a sore loser and to honor the agreement he made. The announcer ignores the drama, declaring that the top scorer will receive epic-quality gear from the Azure Dragon Guild. Pluto turns his back on the groveling Adrian, telling him he won't waste any more breath on someone so insignificant. As Pluto walks away toward the stage, some students comment on how merciful he's being by letting Adrian off the hook. But Adrian's humiliation has turned into a murderous rage, and he screams a vow to kill Pluto for this insult. Pluto doesn't even look back, his expression hardened and his focus already on the path ahead. A dark, spectral aura begins to swirl behind him, a silent warning of the immense necromantic power he now commands. Adrian collapses, screaming in total disbelief as the reality of the results finally sinks in. Pluto just looks on, completely unbothered by the other guy's massive meltdown. He turns his back on the drama and starts heading up the stairs to leave the arena. Julian Kingsley catches up to him, placing a hand on his shoulder to offer some genuine congratulations. Since he took the top spot, it's finally time for him to collect his first-place rewards. Julian presents 3 different epic tier gear options, letting the new champion take his pick. Pluto scans the items, looking for something that actually complements his necromancer build. The heavy armor and longsword are great for warriors, but they're basically dead weight for someone like him. He goes for the Moonveil robe instead, which provides a massive boost to his total mana pool. An extra 50 mana means he can keep 50 more soldiers on the battlefield simultaneously. Julian raises Pluto's arm high, officially declaring him the winner of the Day 1 rookie test. The entire crowd erupts, chanting his name as they celebrate the Academy's newest record breaker. He takes a moment to enjoy the win, knowing this is only the first step in his plan. Julian shouts for everyone to keep grinding, because the real guild trials are only a month away. Later that night, Pluto returns to his quiet apartment in the slum district to prepare for the next step. He pulls out the golden blessing key that Elder Crowley gave him after the assessment. Following the standard procedure, he starts channeling his mana directly into the artifact. The space around the key begins to crack and fizzle as it reacts to his energy. A dark, swirling rift tears open right in the middle of his living room. He remembers Crowley's warning about finding a healer to back him up before entering a rift. But he just scoffs at the advice. Having a teammate would just get in his way. Pluto steps through the portal, choosing to handle the high-level risks on his own. He's transported instantly to a desolate mountainous region deep inside the Blessing Rift. It's a level 9 zone, and the atmosphere is already looking pretty hostile. A pack of blade-tail leopards spots him almost immediately and starts closing in. These things are fast as hell, so he knows the best strategy is to keep them at a distance. He slams his staff down, calling forth his army of necromantic soldiers. The skeletons form a tight defensive ring around him, locking their shields together. A leopard lunges into the trap and gets instantly skewered. The EXP gain is already massive. Pluto is impressed. Even the trash mobs here give a better payout than he expected. With the entrance clear, he decides to push deeper into the mountains. He realizes that keeping half his army on guard duty is wasting a lot of his potential firepower. More leopards are taken down as the skeletons march forward, grinding through the pack. One beast tries to snap at a soldier, but it's completely overwhelmed by the sheer numbers. A golden light washes over him as he finally hits the double digits, level 10. The milestone unlocks a new skill in his repertoire, Death Glare. A massive, terrifying red eye manifests in the sky above the battlefield. This is the Eye of the Dead, a skill that inflicts absolute terror on anyone who locks eyes with it. It's a powerful crowd control tool, but it usually comes with a crippling 24-hour cooldown. Most hunters consider it a trash skill because you can only use it once a day. But for Pluto, cooldowns don't exist. He can theoretically keep a boss locked in fear forever. A loud clang echoes through the canyon as he moves to finish clearing the rift. Right as Pluto is clearing the mobs, the big guy makes his grand entrance, the blade-tail leopard king. He's caught a bit off guard. He wasn't expecting the rift boss to show its face this early. He doesn't waste any time, ordering his skeletons to box the beast in and eradicate it. The king just lunges, a blur of fur and claws ready to shred anything in its path. It's too fast. With one massive swipe, it starts turning his skeletal guard into literal bone meal. Pluto watches his defenses crumble, realizing the king's speed is on a whole different level. If he stays on the defensive, his entire army is going to get wiped before they even touch the boss. It's time to pivot. He raises his staff, deciding to give his newest skill a proper field test. A massive, ominous energy begins to swirl above the battlefield as space itself starts to warp. This is the Eye of the Dead, a manifestation of pure terror that he's finally ready to unleash. He calls out to the king, taunting the beast into looking straight into the void. The Leopard King snarls back, completely unaware of the nightmare that's about to hit its nervous system. The red light of the eye connects, sending a wave of absolute fear through the beast. Pluto smirks. He's got the king exactly where he wants it. The spectral eye flares with power, locking the massive predator in place. It works. The king is hit with the fear status, leaving it completely paralyzed and helpless. Pluto calculates the duration, figuring the level gap gives him about 5 seconds of total control. Whatever the duration, he knows he can just summon another eye as soon as the first one fades. While the beast is frozen, he converts his remaining soldiers into gunpowder skeletons. With a single command, he sends the suicide squad straight at the boss. A series of massive explosions rock the canyon as the barrels detonate all at once. The Leopard King is caught in the center of the inferno, roaring as the fire eats through its health. The fear effect finally wears off, but Pluto isn't about to give the beast its turn. He activates his restriction removal, resetting the skill and preparing to cast it again instantly. He calls for another death glare, refusing to give the king an inch of breathing room. The red eye manifests again, slamming the beast right back into a state of absolute terror. He follows up with another round of explosions, turning the boss room into a literal furnace. The king finally falls, and the payout is massive, 30,000 experience points in one go. Pluto can't believe the numbers. He's never seen a dungeon give 2 full levels from a single run before. He checks his status, seeing that he's already hit level 11 with plenty of points to spend. But the level isn't the most important part. He also unlocked a new restriction removal at level 10. He checks out the new perk. The physical form lock has been officially removed. This grants him access to nether form, a bodiless state where all attacks phase right through him. It's the ultimate survival skill, though the mana drain is high enough to make it a risky play. He realizes that if he wants to keep this active, he's going to need to stack way more MP gear. Just as he's about to wrap things up, something catches his eye in the center of the boss's remains. A blinding golden light erupts, a legendary drop, and it's come way earlier than he expected. Meanwhile, the mood is much less celebratory over at the Blackwood family mansion. Adrian Blackwood sits in his luxury living room, nursing a drink and fuming over his defeat. All he can see when he closes his eyes is Pluto's cold, arrogant face looking down at him. He can't stop replaying the moment he was humiliated in front of the entire academy. Overwhelmed by pure rage, he crushes the crystal glass in his hand as he swears revenge. Adrian's butler asks about his injury. Adrian snaps, ordering a cleanup for an upcoming guest. Fuming, Adrian vows that Pluto will regret humiliating him. A servant announces the arrival of the mysterious guest. Adrian shouts at his staff to get out immediately. He orders the visitor shown in, dismissing the servants. Cedric Thornhill enters, a glowing bow strapped to his back. House staff whisper about the newcomer's ominous presence. A senior butler warns that the guest is far more dangerous than he looks. Cedric's reputation precedes him, a marksman with dozens of long-range kills. Rank Cedric doubles his rates for targets like women or children. Adrian specifies the target is male. Cedric finds that boring. The assassin sits, radiating cold professionalism. Adrian is rattled by the marksman's sharp instincts. Cedric mockingly points out the obvious nature of the contract. He scoffs at an A rank needing help with a non-S rank target. Adrian hesitantly reveals Pluto is just a necromancer. Cedric is incredulous that a trash class caused such a mess. Adrian confirms the humiliating truth through gritted teeth. The assassin begins to find the situation hilarious. Cedric laughs loudly, mocking a berserker for losing to a C rank. Adrian desperately cites Pluto's abnormal growth and guild interest. The mention of the Azure Dragon Guild makes Cedric pause. A heavy silence falls as the stakes rise. Cedric demands a significantly higher fee for the complication. Adrian agrees without hesitation, desperate for his rival's death. Cedric demands a photo and info to finalize the hit. With a sinister grin, Adrian orders the hit. He explains that as a classmate, finding Pluto is easy. Cedric prepares to leave, while Adrian warns him against failure. Cedric's aura darkens as he bristles at Adrian's doubt. Adrian quickly retreats, stammering apologies to the killer. Cedric insults Adrian's weakness before walking out. Alone, Adrian rages at being disrespected once again. He collapses onto his sofa, exhausted by his own fury. His obsession deepens. Pluto's death is his only priority. Back at the academy, a spatial rift opens in Pluto's room. Pluto inspects his new legendary Void Slicer. Though useless for a caster, the dagger's market value is immense. He tallies his gains, massive XP and 2 powerful new skills. Grateful to Elder Crowley, Pluto heads for the exit. Dark energy swirls as he teleports back home. Pluto steps into his room, his secret training complete. Pluto steps back into his mundane dorm room, feeling the sudden weight of its cramped walls after the rift's expanse. Suddenly, the glass shatters as a streak of blue energy tears through the window with a violent crack. Before Pluto can even react, the magical projectile pierces through his chest, pinning him with lethal force. He collapses instantly, his body hitting the floor with a heavy thud as life drains from his eyes. From a rooftop across the city, Cedric Thornhill lowers his glowing bow, coldly declaring the target eliminated.